welcome to PBA at Noon. I'm Paul Benwell and I'm joined by my colleague Sophie Caesar. Today we have with us Gitennes Exploration. Gitennes is focused on high-grade gold in two of Canada's top mining jurisdictions, in Quebec and in BC. And they recently announced the acquisition of 3 gold projects in established camps in Quebec. Here to talk with us today on the recent developments is the CEO, Ken Booth. By the way, the symbol is GIT, Gitennes, on the Venture Exchange. Hi, Ken. Go ahead, and we'll have some questions for you at the end here.
Okay, thank you, Paul and Sophie and PBA, Paul Benwell and Associates, for hosting the event. I am now going to share my screen and let me work the magic of computers.
Perfect. We can see it, Ken. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, again, thank you, Paul and Sophie. So good afternoon, everyone, and I appreciate you taking the time today to allow me to present the Gitennes story. As Paul said, I'm Ken Booth. I'm the president and CEO of Gitennes Exploration. Now, while Gitennes has been around for 27 years, what I'm going to present to you today is a new and exciting story. Firstly, though, let me begin by saying it's actually good to be exploring in Quebec. Over my career, I've explored in many jurisdictions in North and South America, most recently British Columbia, and it's nice to be in Quebec where mining is not only supported but encouraged. It's also good to be able to present to a group of investors like yourselves that know and like exploration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the presentation, and I'm going to flip the slides here, and I think the way it's going to work is after the presentation is over, I'll field questions. So bear with me as I work the cursor here. Forward-looking statements, we'll spend a lot of time on this. Off to highlights. So what Gitennes is now a portfolio of highly prospective gold projects with a focus on exploration in Quebec. We recently acquired or optioned 3 gold properties in the active Chappé-Chibougamau area. Our first project, we own 100% of it. It's along the Guercheville Deformation Zone, which is becoming very important in the revamp of this camp. IAMGOLD, for instance, has an Elgin project along this zone. Project number 2 in N3, RAL and New Mosher, we're earning up to 85% from Kintivar exploration. RAL is adjacent to Cisco's Windfall East prospect, and the New Mosher project is about 3 to 4 kilometers away from the past producing Joe mine that's being explored by Doré Copper. We do actually have a very good BC gold project that we've explored for the last 3 years. We're earning up to 100%. The property's in good standing. And again, it's a high-grade exploration project. I'll spend a couple minutes on that. The last asset we own, number 3 on the slide there, is an NSR 1.5%. This is a holdover from our exploration in Peru, and it's an 18 million ounce silver resource, 43-101. We are fully funded for the first phase of exploration on our Quebec projects. And the good news for me is I partnered with the Kintivar exploration team. And as everyone knows, when you transition into a new jurisdiction, it's really helpful if you have people on the ground. And this is going to make it seamless for us to be working in Quebec. Capital structure, very good capital structure, just under 30 million shares outstanding. Warrants, 17 million. You can see in note 1 there the terms. The bulk of those are from our 2 financings we did in August and September this year. And the bulk of those warrants, between 15 and 20 cents, exercisable in the next 2.5 years, would bring in $2.5 million. The terms of the options are in note 2. And as of the filing of our September statements, we had $1.4 million in the bank. We're probably at about 1.2 right now, because we are actively exploring all 3 Quebec projects. Location, very well located properties, all centrally located in that Chappé-Chibougamau area. You can see in the upper right-hand corner, New Mosher next to the Joe mine, that's a past producer. JMW literally sits on the Guercheville Deformation Zone. And you can see the RAL project there. I highlighted Cisco's very large land package, but again, we are adjacent to their land package. We're on the east side of it, the Windfall East prospect. And for anybody who knows this area, infrastructure is really good here. I'm going to move right into the projects now. But before I do that, one of the things I'm going to highlight here is, the east-west structures here have always been important in this camp, but what's becoming readily apparent is these northeast structures are starting to be a better control on mineralization. The JMW property, we do own 100% of it, 2,000 hectares roughly claim block. There is a 1.5% NSR, but we can buy down 1% of that for $1 million. Now, the historic gold targets here have been quartz, gold and quartz veins in these mineralized felsic intrusives. These gold-bearing structures fall along this Gerscherville deformation zone. The Simplified Geology Map, what's key to take away from this map is three distinct lithologies here. In the upper portion of the slide, you'll see the mafic volcanics. The pink area is what everybody has explored for in the past. These are the felsic intrusives. But what's become apparent to us, and with the work that's happening in the area, the blue part of the map here, this is the sediments, and this is a lithology that's very key along the Gerscherville deformation zone all the way down to the Nelligan project, which has gold in these sediments, the exact same sediments, never explored for on our property. The next slide, slide number 8, this is the Airborne Magnetics. You can see our property outlined there. You can see the contouring of those magnetics. You can see the magnetic highs. That basically is following the deformation zone. And the thing I want you to take away from this slide is the most recent work done by a previous operator was looking at sort of the northern part of the claims where they were able to pick up 4 to 5 grams per ton in grab samples in a bit of a different type of rock. This is in the volcanics, but there's also some tonalites, mafic intrusives up there. But again, you can see in the southern part of our claim group, there's the mag low. And what that is, that's the sediment. So you can see we've got a fairly good package of sediments there highlighted by the mag low. Again, just a couple of pictures here. This is historically what's been explored for. There's your felsic intrusives, 1 to 5 grams per ton on outcrop samples. I'm going to show you a couple of historical drill holes in a couple of slides, but this next slide is kind of interesting for us. As everyone knows, as an explorer, when you enter a property, you have to have a hypothesis, you have to have a model. And I think what we've been able to do since we picked up the property is recognize that there's not just one style of mineralization here, there's potentially 3. The first one is the gold and tonalites, which would be the red arrows that I pointed to on the mag map. And this would be similar to, if you want an analogy, the Chichu project that's being explored for up in the James Bay area, where they've got gold and silicified tonalites. Number 2, I think, really should be number 1. This is the gold in sediment, and our property hosts a large sequence of these sedimentary rocks. Again, exact same lithologies that you see at Nelligan. This has opened up a whole new potential in the project. And then the last one is the gold in these felsic intrusives. We are not going to dismiss those. They're clearly a good target for us. And shallow drilling in the 80s came up with decent widths, low grade, but very shallow. And I'm just going to not spend a lot of time on these next slides, really to highlight that in the intrusives, you're seeing decent widths, anomalous gold. Yep, nothing to write home about, but again, we're showing good widths here with gold over those widths, and just one more hole to illustrate that, close to 1 gram over 9 meters. This carries through into the sediments at higher grades, decent widths. Then you're looking back to what IAMGOLD has at Nelligan. Going to move now to New Mosher. I really like this project. Totally different style of mineralization than what I just portrayed at JMW. This is the nice one for explorationists, high grade gold and quartz veins. We're earning up to an 85% interest from Kintavar. You can see the terms in the upper left-hand corner. 1 million shares, $1 million worth of work over the first 4 years. Very light expenditures in the first year, about $150,000. So it's not too onerous on us. We can go to 85% if we do a resource by 2025. You can see where it's located, readily accessible, really nice road from the main highway into Joe Man. We turn off before Joe Man. You can drive a 2-wheel drive car right to the property. As I said, gold and quartz veins in sheared volcanics and mafics. There's three things to highlight off this next slide, which is slide number 14. When the Joe Man was being discovered, there was a staking rush obviously in the area, and the new Mosher showing was found. 16.7 grams per ton in a trench sample in a vein, and then 20 grams per ton gold from a grab sample from one of the veins. Recent sampling by Kintavar has identified several anomalous areas. I'll go through that in the next slide. And very few, only 3 diamond drill holes put into this vein. And you can see the grade from the 80s was roughly 2 grams. A good thing for us is we've got a decent width here, because that's going to be key as you try to explore this and eventually hopefully build out a resource, but you got 5 meters there that they intersected. Picture on the right just really is the quartz vein. You can see hopefully the fabric in the rock on the right-hand side. That's the sheared volcanics. But what's really exciting for us is that's my manager of exploration on the left picture, Wayne Homestead. And you can see that tight folding within the vein on another outcrop. And as we all know, in gold deposits, structure is key. So if you want structure, that's a really good place to start. The next slide is the geology of the property. You can see the outline there. We roughly have 670 670 hectares. But 2 things to point out here. The light blue on the left side of our claim block, that is a lake. You can see the red star. That is the new Mosher showing. And then you can see there's that northeast trending structure I mentioned before that's becoming much more evident in this camp, the Chape Shabugamu camp. That rips right across our property. We can actually follow the quartz vein intermittently along 1.5 kilometers of that structure. So, provide great upside for us. The work that Kintavar has done, you can see a roughly parallel structure over to the eastern end of our claim block. They did till sampling and they got decent amount of gold grains within till. So we announced 2 weeks ago that we've completed all the soil sampling on the project, roughly 511 samples. We're doing line cutting and we're going to do IP across the entire property. That's never been done before. So again, high grade gold and quartz veins really like the project. I'm going to flip now to our last Quebec property, which is RAL. And if my limited French works for me, it's Rivière Alleg, which in English is Eagle River. Again, a 85% option, 6,600 hectares. You can see the terms of the option there. A little more expensive than New Mosher, 1.5 common shares and 1.5 million expenditures over 4 years. But if you notice in the location map there, the shape of the claim outline, northeast trending, and I'm going to show you the geology map next. Again, it was done for the right reasons. Strong geochemical anomalies, both at Osisko's Windfall East prospect and this one, and it appears the gold and tills is associated with major faults and shear zones, which again, I'll show you here. This is the geology map. It looks like the gold will be in intrusives, possibly a tonalite. The work that's been done by Kintavar on the right side of that map over by the letter B, there's your northeast trending fault. But I have to take you to area C. And if you look at the river there, that's too much of a coincidence for me. That I'm almost positive is a surface expression of another northeast trending fault or structure. So the work that Kintavar did, B, C, and D were the most priority targets found through their work. We again 2 weeks ago announced that we are doing the soil sampling, pretty well finished by now, and line cutting and IP will be done very soon, clearly before the end of the year. Those are our Quebec properties. I have to talk about the Snowbird Project. We've had it for 3 years. We've done 5,000 meters of drilling here. We've never been blanked on our drilling. This is not in the Golden Triangle. So for anybody who wants it to be there, sorry, it's not. Doesn't matter. The geology is really good here. We can work this one year round. So we have the right to earn up to 100% of this. We only have to spend $500,000 more. That would all be on drilling. This is your classic orogenic. These days, the old days, we would have called it mesothermal. What are the analogies? The granddaddy of them all is the Mother Lode district in California for the Western Cordillera. You also have the Braylorn mine just outside Hope, BC, and also the Atlan district. And what do all four of those have? Fantastic grade, well-defined structure, alteration, and depth potential. So on this next page, I'm going to show you what do we have? We have a 4.8 kilometer long, well-defined structure. I'm only showing 2.5 kilometers here. We definitely have very, very, very strong alteration here. So in the old days, we would have called it Foxite in the Hemlo camp, which is a chrome mica. Mariposite is what we call it. That's from Mariposa County in California, but it doesn't matter. It's chrome mica from the altered ultramafics. We definitely have the grades. You can see the upper table there shows some of the drilling we've done and historical, so decent grades over good widths. And back in the 40s and 50s, they did put an adit here and some trenches, and you can see some really nice high grade. What we don't have here is the depth, because we've never drilled deep. The deepest drilling was by us, one hole last year, 400 meters vertical from surface, about 270. So relative to Braylorn mine, that's down close to a mile, there's still lots of potential there. So this is still a very good asset for us, but we're not working on it right now. We're going to focus on Quebec. Lastly, as I highlighted on the highlight page up front, Burmilk silver vein. We actually discovered this when we were in Peru. It was our last program. You can see the vein there in 3D. It's really well set up. It's vertical, comes to surface. This runs roughly 180 grams or 6 ounces silver and 2 grams gold. And the company we sold it to, they produced a 43-101 compliant resource. Again, 180 grams silver, 2 grams gold, roughly coming out to about 18 million ounces of silver. We believe, as they do, that with more exploration, you're going to double this to 35 to 40 silver ounces. You can see what we're left with there, 1.5% uncapped NSR, and they owe us $500,000. So definitely there's some value there. Just quickly on the team, I've been doing this for over 35 years as a geologist and a financier, capital markets professional. I've run public companies, sit on boards, and help fund exploration companies. I've got 3 very good independent directors. Jesse Grady, Masters in Structural Geology, provides technical expertise. Stu Ross is a CA. He sat on boards. He's run public companies, so he provides that financial literacy. And Robert Matthews, independent businessman out of Vancouver. And the last person of the team is Wayne Homestead. For some of you in Quebec that might know Wayne, he's been exploring for over 40 years, much of that time in Quebec. And he was one of the founding members of Urban Gold. And as you know, Urban Gold is in the Troilus area with Troilus Gold and Norland. And Wayne was instrumental in putting those properties in the company. So why am I here today to you guys? Obviously, I want you to buy Gitennes. And so why should you invest in Gitennes? First and foremost, the projects. We're not a one-trick pony. As I laid out, we've got 3 prospective gold projects in the Chape-Chibougamau camp. We're exploring on all 3. There is additional value. The BC project, high-grade gold, in line with what we're doing in Quebec as far as focusing on high-grade gold. And project's in good standing. I'm looking for a partner on that one. We do have the silver resource that I'd love to monetize. The share structure, you get in early. Our market cap is low, 3 million, 3.3 doesn't matter. Cash, we are fully financed here for the first phase of exploration. And what that's going to do is it's going to generate news flow for our investors. So we're not shut out of winter exploration. We'll be going right through the winter time here. And lastly, the team. I've been doing this for a while. I've got a good reputation, 35 years in the business. I've got a very good manager of exploration. And one of the keys for me is I'm affiliated with the Kintervar exploration team. They're doing the work right now on New Mosher and on RAL. And believe me, it's so nice to be working with a team like that, because when you enter new jurisdictions, as I said, it just makes it seamless. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much for that. I believe I'm going to pass it back to Paul or Sophie. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hi, Ken. Thank you so much. It's a great presentation. We do actually have a couple of questions. So let's start with, do you consider yourself a mining exploration or a producer? Will you be going into production or want to take any of these projects into production?
Right. So I'm old enough to believe that, taking a small resource, making it a mine can be done like it used to be done years ago. But no, we're exploration. you know, it's just a much different environment these days. I mean, everything to do with permitting and raising capital and getting bank financing to put a mine in production. I'd love to say it'd be easy. I'd love to be able to do it, but right now we're explorers.
Okay, excellent. Can you explain the time frame on the 2 JVs with Kintivar?
Right. So each one is roughly similar. We've got the 4-year option period to earn up to 70% or 70%. It's 70%. We do it over the 4 years, and as I said, the share payments are roughly spread evenly over those 4 years. 1 million shares on New Mosher, 1.5 on RAL. The work expenditures obviously increase on New Mosher. We do 150 in the first year on New Mosher, and I believe I should know this, roughly 150 on RAL. And each one of those will increase. For instance, New Mosher, you know, years 2, 3, and 4 will be increasing to 250, 350, and then the final amount 400 to get us to 1 million. Similar on RAL, that will have those step ups. If we complete all of those share payments, all of the work, 1 million of work on New Mosher, 1.5 on RAL, we get 70%.
Okay. Do you have any debt?
We only have what I would call soft debt, and that is debt to me and my CFO. For a number of years, we were a shell, and in order to keep the company running, we didn't take any money out of the company. So that's your classic accrued debt, and that's on the balance sheet. But we don't owe any money to any third parties.
Excellent. Can you explain the ownership structure, management, major investors, so forth?
Right. So right now, management has about 1 million shares out of the 30. We do have an institution from when we financed Snowbird. They're based out of Paris. That is Rothschild and Company. It's the Paris office that has roughly about 1 million shares as well. And then for the owners of the Snowbird project, friends of mine that own the project, I've become friends with them. They collectively have about 1 million shares. So we, between management, Rothschilds, and the owners of Snowbird, we've got about 10%. And then the rest would be through the financings we just completed. But again, that was, you know, to obviously a larger group of investors.
Okay. Can you describe a bit of the infrastructure you have on site?
Right. So I'll start with JMW. The nice thing for us is there's a very large active mill, lumber mill, if you want to call that, logging mill, I'll call it lumber, in Chapay, and everything sort of south of that highway is still being actively logged. So for instance, JMW, we've got good access via active logging roads. New Mosher, you almost have a paved road right into the project. There's still a power line that is into Joe Mann Mine, so we've got power there. And then RAL is a little bit more remote. I think there's a power line close, but again, there's road access into RAL.
Excellent. Would JMW be an open pit operation? I know you said you wouldn't take it to that and you guys are just exploring, but would it be an open pit operation?
Yeah, I think it could be. And if I look at what is going on along the Gerscherville deformation zone from where we are straight through to Nelligan, about 32 kilometers away, it looks more and more like the gold within the sediments would be a decent, you know, let's say 1.5 to 2 grams per ton resource reserve, but in large tonnage. So that would be an open pit. But you know, that kind of is one of the targets. The other ones would more likely be underground, but again, a lot more work to do before we get there.
Does Snowbird become all yours when you have 100%?
Yes, and so that's the nice thing about that deal is all the payments have been made to the underlying owners. We've done roughly $1 million worth of work, most of that drilling. We only have $500,000 left to spend. Once we do that, we get 100% claim ownership. And the only thing we have would be a 2% royalty. And then we can buy half of that for $1 million.
So you mentioned the royalty. Could you maybe, so do you have royalties on the other properties? If you could talk about that a little bit.
Yep. So JMW 1.5% to the previous owner of the property. We can buy 1% of that. So buy it from 1.5 to 0.5% for 1 million. Excuse me. And then on New Mosher and RAL, we would have a royalty owing to Kintavar, again 1.5%, but a buy down of $1 million to get it down to 0.5%.
So Peru is in a political upheaval now. Does that affect your deal at all?
It doesn't affect our deal. We Gitennes had explored in Peru for many, many years. They seem to have these political upheavals every once in a while. The nice thing about Peru, it is, putting the political thing aside, it's a very, very good mining jurisdiction. And I would say that this will come to pass as a lot of the previous political upheavals have. And so I don't think it'll cause any long-term effect to that asset in a negative way. And so that royalty, I think, is in good shape.
In the near term, where do you really see your focus? I know you mentioned Quebec, but where specifically?
Right. So as an explorationist, I look at JMW. I'll go there first. Now with this potential of gold in the sediments, I think that's a great upside for us. It's going to take us a little bit more, sleuthing to sort of make sure we've got the right targets. RAL, that's an interesting one. Again, we got to figure that one out. For me, New Mosher is the one that I think will be the closest to getting to a drill program. And the reason I say that is you just can't, look beyond the fact that we've got 1.5 kilometers of a well-defined structure, intermittent quartz vein across there, high-grade gold. And I'd love to be able to come and drill that one first, because I think it's not ready to do it, but I think we can advance that much more quickly than the other two. Not saying the other two aren't as good. It's just that that one is, I think, first one will go.
Excellent. And I see Paul's joined us. Paul, do you have any questions for Ken?
Just a couple, Ken. The BC project, would you look at joint venturing that out now, or optioning it out to somebody to take over or earn in, or just joint venture 50-50 to at least get some work done on it?
Yeah. So the good news is I've got a good relationship with the partners or the owners of the claims. I have full right to assign my deal or to bring in another party. So my best deal right now, Paul, would be, yes, somebody to come in. I spent $1 million there. I've paid in shares. So, get somebody to come in and take over from me. And if they spend the money to get 100%, they would earn an interest. And then obviously if they spend more money, then, we could do the classic dilution formula. So I would be obviously diluted down, but I'm focused in Quebec, but I'd love to see somebody explore that, because I still believe there's gold to be found there. And I just need somebody to sort of crack it.
Well, your property's in Quebec. You're surrounded by Osisco. You're surrounded by the old Bonterra mine, Metanor, all these people, the Windfall Lake area. I mean, there's a lot of gold in there. So I agree with you focusing on Quebec for the moment.
Yeah.
Does the Joe Man mill or mine, do they do milling for other people around them?
Yeah, I think the capacity, my understanding is, I listened to Ernie Mass from Doré Copper the other day talking about the capacity. I think they've got a 2,000 ton a day mill there. Doesn't matter, even if it's 1,000 tons a day, it's still fairly good capacity. So whether or not you could do it there, but remember, in the Chibougamau camp, right, Doré Copper is actively exploring there, and they've consolidated that entire camp. So, they'd like to reestablish mining and milling there. So you're going to have two areas within a short distance from New Mosher that either is Joe Man, clearly that would be the best for us. But if not, I think there's going to be capacity somewhere along the line at Chibougamau.
Now, one last question I have, and then we can wrap this up. The RAL and the New Mosher properties are joint ventures with Kintavar. And Kintavar is the operators?
They are for the first year.
So for the first year. So then when do you come in and take over the operation? Like after you've earned in a little bit, or?
No, after 1 year from the anniversary date, we have the right to come in and assume operatorship. We'll see how it goes. So far, very good. If anybody knows the geological team at Kintivar, led by Alain Caillé, Paul, it's been great. His team is one, very, very experienced. He's got a discovery under his belt. And believe me, I don't speak French well. I grew up in Ottawa, but it's nice to have people like Alain with his knowledge, local knowledge and expertise. So yes, we have the right. We'll see how things go.
All right, so you can negotiate with them if they can continue being the operator. And I mean, if they're the operator, you're still getting all information. You're up to speed on everything that's going on, right?
Correct.
Okay, fine. Ken, a great story. You're in some great areas here in Quebec. I think you're on the right track. Gold is cooperating this morning a little bit better than yesterday. It's at 1835, so it's back above 1800. With deficits growing around the world, I think gold is going to pop up. So congrats on your projects, and we'll be in touch, and we'll keep everybody posted on what's going on in the future with you people. And thanks very much for presenting today. Much appreciated.
Okay. Yep. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Sophie. And thank you to everyone who took the time to listen today.
Take care, everyone. Be safe.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.